One cold winter morning, I sat on the edge of a small park bench, my hands trembling as I stared at the ground. Everything I had built, everything I believed in was gone. My life felt like a house of cards that had just collapsed. I had no job, no money, and no idea what to do next. My heart was heavy with regret. All I could think was, how did I end up here? But let me tell you something. That moment, sitting alone in that park, was the turning point I didn't see coming. And I'm sharing this story because no matter where you are in life, it's never the end. It all started a year before that morning. I thought I had everything figured out. A steady job, a decent apartment, and a group of friends who made me feel unstoppable. But deep down, I wasn't happy. I worked endless hours at a job I hated, chasing something that felt just out of reach. I ignored the signs, the sleepless nights, the anxiety, and the growing feeling that I was losing myself. I told myself to keep pushing forward, and then one day, it all fell apart. I was laid off. At first, I laughed it off, pretending I wasn't scared. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the fear became real. The bills piled up. Friends I thought would always be there stopped answering my calls. My savings dried up faster than I ever imagined. I tried to stay hopeful, but each job interview felt like a dead end. And then the eviction notice came. I remember holding that piece of paper in my hands, feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. That's how I ended up on that park bench. I'd hit rock bottom. But as I sat there, something unexpected happened. A little boy ran up to me, holding a bright red balloon. He smiled and said, "Here, you look like you need this more than me." For the first time in months, I felt something stir inside me. That simple act of kindness made me realize I wasn't invisible. That night, I went back to the shelter where I was staying and started writing down every thought that came to my mind. What I wanted, who I wanted to be, and the steps I needed to take to get there. The next day, I walked into a local library and asked for help. I found free workshops, job resources, and even volunteers who were willing to guide me. For the first time, I stopped focusing on what I had lost and started thinking about what I could rebuild. It wasn't easy. There were moments I wanted to quit. But every time I felt like giving up, I remembered that little boy and his balloon. I reminded myself that even the smallest step forward was better than standing still. Weeks turned into months. I landed a part-time job, then another, and eventually, I found myself in a position where I could breathe again. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. One day, I found the boy and his family in the same park. I walked up to them and thanked him. He didn't remember me, but I'll never forget him. Today, my life isn't perfect, but it's mine. I've learned that no matter how far you fall, you can always rise again. And sometimes, all it takes is one small act of kindness to spark the change you need. So, if you're watching this and feeling lost, remember, your story isn't over. It's just beginning.